Good morning, everyone. I'm Kim. I do social media and communications for KCL, and I'm excited to have everyone here today. I'm especially excited to have David Sutton here. David Sutton is a visual artist and man of many talents, including he's a musician. He has a published book on building cigar box banjos or guitars,
Guitars.
right? And he is known mostly to me as someone who takes amazing portraits of humans and their animal companions, otherwise known as pets. And like many of us, 2020 has had its share of surprises and impact on business. And David took his skills as someone who's tuned into the visual environment and pivoted to start offering consulting to people on Zoom and how to look their best on Zoom. I know we're all on Zoom a lot. We're meeting with family, we're having business meetings over Zoom. And it's surprising that there are still instances where you log on and you're looking up someone's nose, or there's just a lot of mess and people are not appearing as professionally as they probably want to. And so David's here to give us some great advice on all of this.
Thank you. Is it my turn?
Sure.
All right. So as Kim said, this is something I just started doing to fill my days once I had to shut the portrait business down. We're open again on a very limited basis, but this has been a lot of fun and a nice change of pace for me. So when I first started doing, anytime I'm on a FaceTime, because I've spent 40 years looking through viewfinders at a rectangle and making that rectangle, the contents of that rectangle, look as good as humanly possible. That's my instinct when I move into a FaceTime or when I Zoom. And then once I started doing this more frequently after the lockdown began, I noticed how few people have that as an instinct, and that it's really the result of many, many decades of doing it over and over and over again, that it comes automatically for me to think in those terms. So the first thing I ask people is, you got to consider the purpose of your conversation. If you are just chatting with friends and family, maybe they're not that particular, maybe hand-holding your phone and running around doing laundry and things like that. But if you're doing this for business, I've frankly been really surprised, as Kim pointed out, that even though people are meeting in this space for business purposes, they may be working from home, which for a lot of people, they're not making the connection that you still, I think you really should show up in a professional way. And the very first thing is showing up. I think it's really crucial that you do appear, your live video image appears in your Zoom meeting, that if that's absolutely impossible, or if you have to step away for a minute, that you use a very nice headshot as a placeholder, because the default is that it's your name in white letters on a black background, which is the least desirable. People want to see you, they want to see what you look like, they want to make sure, most times people, they want to know that you're really there. So showing up is really important. And I started doing this for people. I just Googled a little while ago to see, I was looking for a particular video, and there are now hundreds and hundreds of videos on YouTube about how to look good on Zoom. What I was doing that was a little different was, instead of just recording a video and putting it out there, is I've been doing one-on-one consultations where I go into your house, your situation. I don't mean physically, but with a camera, and guide people and direct people and try out different rooms and ask about what lighting they have, and actually work through the process and get it set up to a point where by the end of the conversation, they've got the look with the guidance. We like taking sort of an Apollo 13 approach. You don't need to go out and buy stuff. You probably have everything you're going to need in your home. So pretend you're locked in your space capsule and we got to solve this problem. We start looking for things to put your laptop on top of, different forms of lighting that you didn't know you had available, all that kind of thing. So I'm going to share my screen really briefly here. I want to show you a very, very condensed version of, if I can find it. Oh, sorry, everybody. Oh, yeah, you're sharing. It looked like it worked. Here we go. That come through? Everyone see that? Good. Yeah, so that was probably a 40-minute session of walking him through all the different steps, which I'm gonna walk you through right now, just in terms of how we go about it. The first thing to consider is location. Your location is as important as what you're wearing, what's showing up behind you. So you got to think about where you're going to be doing your calls and why are you doing them there, and are there other choices? A lot of people are locked into a default location because they have a desktop computer. They feel like they're stuck there. If you're using a laptop or a tablet or a phone, you've got a lot more flexibility. But even if you are stuck in a default location, you can maximize it. The video we just saw was a case where he had a desktop computer. He wasn't in a position to move it, or the monitor or the camera or anything. So we just optimized what was possible in that space. One thing to consider is what's behind you. I've seen some very successful looks where you're seeing actually way off into someone's home, but there's nothing going on back there. Things are small enough in the background that they're not distracting. You just want to do what I have and other photographers have been trained to do, which is look at all sections of that screen. Look for everything. Look for things that belong there and things that don't belong there. A certain number of props or things in the background are fine, but is that what you're looking at, or is what you're looking at clutter? Really nice artwork in the background can be problematic because it's too interesting. Any printed matter or book spines, things like that, they're going to be very distracting. People are going to want to know what you're reading. The other background that I think is unfortunate is one that's just simply too plain, a great big white expanse. It's just visually, I think it wears people out. So think about what you're wearing. Again, how you want to show up. If it's family and friends, that's one thing, but if it's business, that's something else. You're probably a business neckline. Avoid using headphones if you can. I know a lot of times if you're working at home, you've got to share the space with others, and you're wearing headphones. That's fine. Earbuds can be a little better. They're just a little less distracting. And it may not matter what you're wearing from the waist down, but then again, it might if you decide you need to get up for anything and forget what you're wearing or not wearing from the waist down. That can be an issue. It was interesting during some of these consultations, I've had people, a couple of times different women got up to make some adjustment, and I had to avert my eyes because you're not thinking about where the camera is and that the camera doesn't stop seeing. It's always on. Also important to consider is what are you sitting on? I see a lot of folks in very comfy high back office chairs slouched back and disappearing from view. If you're in a business meeting, you want to look like people would expect you to look at a table, at a board, in a boardroom. You want to be, get your feet underneath you, up on the front edge of your chair. It also brings you a little closer to the camera, so you fill the frame a little bit more. If you use a stool or something, I mean, obviously you're going to make different choices if you're doing this for 8 hours a day. But if you can sit on something that's not too inviting, that keeps your feet in a running pose, keeps you on the front edge of the chair, you're going to look a little more present and alive. So in terms of computing, again, you've got choices: desktop, laptop, mobile. The advantages of the tablets and the phones are that you can take them wherever you want to take them. The disadvantage is that if you're holding it in your hand, it's probably moving a lot. Even if you're trying really hard to keep it in front of you, it's going to be vibrating, which can be distracting and annoying over time. And odds are very good that you're going to, be pointing it inadvertently. Like you may be looking at the camera and gesture with your hand, and now everyone you're talking to is looking at your ceiling. Another very important thing to know, 50% of this is, where is your microphone and what does it sound like? Do you know where your microphone is? If it's built into your computer, it's good to know where it is, so you know where to project your voice, that kind of things. Or for example, I've got a Mac Mini out at my front desk. The microphone's built into the computer, but the Mini is mounted under the desk, so it's not going to pick up anything. You've got to be aware of where your microphone is. Built-ins, for the most part, are pretty good, but it's not a bad idea to consider an external microphone. I've got a couple of different ones I use. This is one that is made by Shure, and this is another one I use with a computer out front, because I sometimes want to do speech to text, and as I said, it's mounted under the desk, so we need it. Those are both USB microphones. They're plug and play, very, very simple. And one thing to remember about them is that when you're signing into Zoom, I'll review this in a bit, but you want to sign in early and absolutely use Zoom's software to test your microphone and test your video. See what you look like and see what you sound like. Don't be fumbling with that stuff at the beginning of the meeting. You want to get that, you want to show up early, get everything in place, so when you pop online, you're ready to hit the ground running. With cameras, again, there are some desirable, some not so desirable. You can look at the image quality that you're seeing and get a pretty good idea of what your camera is doing. There are built-ins that are fantastic and built-ins that are crap. There are a whole line of Dell laptop computers that have the camera mounted about 1/4 inch above the keyboard, which is crazy, because usually half the frame is filled with keyboard and, distorted like this, and then you get the bottom half of the person's face. External cameras are also available. They're not expensive, and they give you a little more freedom in terms of where to put it, just a little more flexibility. It's important to consider the camera to subject distance. You don't want the camera too close because you get the wide angle effect. You don't want the camera too far away because you disappear from view and people forget about you. If you look at my frame, this is what I like. Top of the head clipped by the frame, head and shoulders kind of centered. Off center is good. The way Kevin was on when you first came on, off center is great if you've got a decent background, or especially if the wall behind you is at an angle, and so you've got those converging lines. They kind of draw your eye to the person. Kevin's playing around. Camera height is very important. By and large, people's cameras are too low. They're usually using a laptop and they're looking down at it. I want the camera at eye level or slightly higher, it's much more flattering view of you. So I already went over microphones, and I'll say again, use the testing feature. I've used that to determine that even some of my better computers don't have such great microphones. And for $30 or $40, you can have one of these USB things that you plug in, and then people can hear what you're saying and they're not struggling. So then we move on. Once you've got your camera placed and you're filling the frame about right, we move on to lighting. This is me at my desk. This is me at my desk with my lamp on. But since this is also my Zoom space, I have an LED lamp up here that is bouncing off a reflector over there, which produces a nice broad diffuse light. Then I thought this put my eyes too much in shadow, so I have a tiny little LED bar right here that is touch control that kind of lights up my eyes. You don't have to go to all that trouble. In general, you want a soft source. So if you're using lamps, those paper lanterns or paper shades, or even a table lamp with a silk or anything to diffuse the light. The other thing you can do to diffuse light, if you have like a desk lamp that's a pinpoint source, rather than pointing it at you, point it at the wall you're facing, and then the reflected light will be much softer and not create contrast and shadows. So it's important that the light on you is good and adequate, but the light on your background is also really critical. If your background is close enough, it's probably getting enough light from your primary source. But if it's farther away, I'm looking at Eve, and not to pick on you, but your background light is much brighter than your foreground light. And what that means, excuse me. I'm back. Okay, what's happening, one of the reasons Eve is appearing so dark is that her background is quite a bit brighter than her. And the cameras are really, really brilliant and also stupid in that they're taking the average of light available in the entire frame and making a decision about the exposure. So on balance, because much more of the frame is filled with the background, Eve's camera software is saying this is what the exposure should be, which leaves her in shadow. She's a silhouette.
David?
Yes.
If I can interrupt, I don't know if you saw this in chat. What about those circle lights? Those
ring
lights?
Ring lights are the hottest new trend in misunderstood lighting. They have I got one for the studio recently, and the way the ring lights were designed to work is a tight little ring right around the lens of your camera, which creates shadowless light. That means light is coming from 360 degrees. It's both shadowless on the subject, but it creates an interesting 360-degree shadow on the wall behind you. But they don't work if you wear glasses, for example. They don't work, I mean, if it's off to the side, it's just another light source. I think I've seen them around makeup counters and things like that. If they put the mirror right in the front, it enables people to see without, it creates a shadowless light. I don't think they're great for this application, but they are really popular and largely misunderstood. One of the things you can do, as long as we're talking about glasses, I'll often be talking to someone who's wearing glasses and I can't see their face, I can't see their eyes at all because all I'm seeing is a reflection of their computer screen. In that case, I'll ask them to reduce the brightness. Just reduce the brightness of your computer screen as low as you can go so that you can still see it, and then you're not getting the reflection in the glasses. So again, the lighting on the background is as important as the lighting on the foreground because there's an interplay computing that your software is doing to try to determine what will look good. See, Eve showed up there. Oh, no, she's gone again. And again, the lighting should be attractive rather than distractive. If it's too bright, too harsh, I'll walk you through some of the consultations that I did and explain to you what kind of things we did in each case to make improvements. Lastly, once you've got all those things set, you got to think in terms of your performance. And this again is about how you show up. It's okay to move. It's okay to use movement. It's really great to use your hands as long as you know where your hands are going to show up in the frame. Sometimes forward and back is good for emphasis. So it's, again, a thing to be applied occasionally, not overdone. So I think it's a really good idea to learn what the keyboard shortcut is for your mute button, or to be ready with your mouse to click on the mute button at any time. As I've been in groups with friends where somebody has a coughing fit or a sneezing fit, and they wipe everyone out for several minutes. They drown everyone out, and it also comes through way louder than you think it does. But it's a really simple matter. Like, even if you've got to clear my throat, you hit the mute button, clear your throat, and then bring yourself back in. Yeah, try not to cough. Try not to rub your nose or touch your face too much. Clean your glasses. And you're not really eating, are you, during a Zoom? Please tell me you're not eating. Don't do that. Then I just want to repeat that it's very important to show up in the Zoom space. Get there 15 minutes before whatever meeting you're going to do. Get the application open, test the camera, check your lighting, test the audio, and make sure that you're going to be there for people. So if there's time, is there time? Okay.
We've got time for you. I'm
going to do a screen share again, and I'm going to walk you through some before and afters, this consulting that I've done. So we'll start. I'm picking on my friend James. James lives in Paris, and he joined some friends and me for coffee. And I want to pick on him for a couple of reasons. One is, this is normally what you see of James, which we like to think of as the Kilroy view. He is either back here, or if he really has something to say, he leans forward and gives you this view. And it changes two things. Neither view of him is really good. He's in one of those big comfy office chairs that leans way, way, way back. But his microphone is built into his computer. So when he's in this position, we can't hear him. And when he leans forward for emphasis, we're seeing a relief map of his scalp, which, you know, not pretty. So here's a guy that I helped with a Zoom. He was really, really sold on these virtual backgrounds, which I absolutely hate. So we cured him of that. And you saw kind of how this came together in the little video I showed. Aaron, what did we do here? First and foremost, we got him up. We got him elevated. He was sitting on a chair that was too short. We fixed the lighting on the background. You see in the above picture, there's a grid spot that's pointed on the artwork, which is good when you're in person, but not so great for your electronic camera. You had to put some light on Aaron, got rid of his giant microphone and his giant headphones. And then if you look to the right, all we did was rearrange some things. He took everything off the bulletin board, and we didn't want him to have to move his printer. So all we did was move the little vase of flowers from behind it to in front of it. And he knows he put blue painter's tape on his desk for where everything goes, and instructions for which lights. He actually has can lights in the ceiling, and he unscrews one of them before he does a meeting, so it's not blasting him in the face. This was fairly simple. What I love about this one is that all of this is entirely natural light. And I did two things. She's at a round table in the top picture, and I just had her move about 1.5 feet to her left. And I like the background a little bit better. It's a lot simpler. All the personal pictures are out of the background. In terms of lighting here, she has an entire wall of very large windows to her right. It's kind of a loft setting. And all of the windows have shades. And all I had her do here was angle herself a little bit more toward the window. And then I had her lower the shades on all the windows that were to her right and immediately in front of her to her right, and leave the ones that were farther away from her open. And that shifted the directionality of the light around to the front a lot more and made it much less contrasty. I'm not sure what was going on in the first picture. Fredi was using 2 different computers, and this was how she appeared in her Zooms. So we moved her around to her dining room table. She got a stack of books for her laptop, and we got her squared away there. There wasn't a lot to do. This was a existing light. She was in good shape in terms of lighting went, in terms of how lighting went. Jen here, we found another location for her in her dining room that also had windows with paper shades, translucent paper shades, which are a really beautiful light source, big, soft light. And just moved her to a spot where she's not at her desk. She doesn't have her personal photos in the background, you know, her kid watching TV off to the left in the background, or any of those other distractions. This one was so simple. We really basically raised her computer camera up. I think she was using a laptop, so we got it up a little bit higher and either opened or closed a shade on her window. It was it. This kind of background is fine. The bookcase is far enough in the background where you're not looking at book titles. But it's so much more interesting than looking at her ceiling. This again is a matter of moving a person 90 degrees in the room and closing the white paper shades over the windows so that they're producing, we got a more interesting background, a better camera angle. The camera's up from where it was. And the lighting is a lot flatter, less contrasty. Also, the other thing that I pointed out earlier, you see there's an open window with very, very bright light filling up about a quarter or a fifth of the frame. And that's telling the camera software to bring the exposure down, which throws her face into shadow. Even just pulling the shade on that window would bring her face up a little bit, but moving her around the table and pulling the shades worked out really nicely. This is our friend Carolyn. We went to a completely different part of her house. She was in her attic. The light was awful. The backgrounds were awful. And she didn't have to be there. She had a portable, I'm not sure if it was a tablet or a laptop, but she just switched over to using that. And we found a nice, she's an attorney and a teacher, a law professor, and it's appropriate for her to have all this in the background. But again, there's nothing there that's prominent enough that it's distracting. It says enough about her. We just repositioned a lamp that was already there and got the lighting good on her face.
David?
Yes.
I just want to point out, can you look at chat? There are a couple of questions there.
Oh, I don't have chat open.
Oh, okay. I can read it to you. Do you have specific suggestions for exterior cameras? And can you use a Zoom background with it?
You mean an external camera plug-in?
I believe that's what they meant.
You know, I haven't tested any. If I do have, let me see. I made some notes.
Oh, Kevin has a comment.
Yeah, so, go ahead.
I'm on a laptop today with the built-in camera. My desktop, it's like a $60 HD camera that just sits on top of one of my desktop monitors. Mm-hmm. So the issues that I have with it is if you have large monitors, it may end up doing, something like that to you. Yeah. So you got to be careful about it. But if it's far enough away, yeah, it's okay. But they they're really easy. They clip on well. So I like that. And you can use the backgrounds because they are a powerful camera. But again, you have to make sure that you've got a solid background behind you. Otherwise, like when I was playing around with it, Zoom goes a little crazy if there's too many surfaces that it has to render at the same time.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I'm real happy with my external camera that Eve prompted me to get, because I've been doing these go-to meetings for 20 years without a camera. And until COVID time and everyone starts using the camera, I'm like, I guess I should join them. Which, you know, like David said, you do have to make sure I try to at least get KCL wear on, you know, if it's more formal than a button-down shirt. So you got to be aware of those issues.
Yeah, that was a really great solution. And that clip-on camera, you don't have to clip it onto your computer. It gives you a lot more flexibility in terms of where you place it. It's probably going to give you really good resolution. Logitech was the brand that had been suggested to me. Like I said, I haven't tested any. Some of the nicer ones that are at a good price point and ideal for this were on back order for a really long time because everyone got the word. But it's definitely worth considering, especially if you are in this space a lot. The last one, her office, Susan's office, was in a third floor finished attic. And I asked her, I said, there's a window behind you. Is there any furniture over by the window? And there happened to be a desk right there. So we just did a 360. I put her by the window. It was too bright. And so she had her son put some corrugated cardboard in front of the lower parts of the window. So she's getting just the right amount of light. There's still a little glare on her forehead, but we just adjusted the lighting in the rest of the room so that the background shows up, so it's not a black hole. And that's the last one of those. If you are, I'm going to share yeah, go ahead.
A couple people,
there's the chat,
asked about how do you put a placeholder picture in? You mentioned that early on.
Yeah, if you go in the Zoom software, look for the little tiny gear and click on that. It's your preferences. I can't get to it right now, so I can't, well, here, yes, I can. It's under profile. There is a place there where you'll see the familiar circle with a pencil over it. You just upload a picture to that, and then when you shut the video off, let's see if this works. If I stop video, you should see a picture of me wearing my friend's Stetson, right?
We do, but I don't know where you get to that at the bottom.
Oh, you stop video.
Okay.
Yeah, well, have you?
There's a video settings.
Oh, no, you're looking in the preferences?
Oh, then general, yeah, I'm trying to figure.
No, look, it's under your profile.
But I don't know how to get to my profile.
Oh, let's see if I can find it again. So click on the little gear. Once you're in settings, the way they're listed here: general, video, audio, share screen, chat, virtual background, recording, profile. And if you click on profile, you should be able to upload a photo there.
Okay.
Does anyone else see that? I hate to be the slow one in the group, but virtual, I don't see a gear.
Oh, well, you know, it may be, you have to go to the other panel.
Kevin?
Yep.
Where it says start video down at your bottom left.
Right. There's a little arrow there.
Yes. And then video settings.
Okay.
Does that pull up the settings panel?
Yes. And there's one for general.
Could you look down?
I think you can also go up in the corner of your feed where the mute button is. There's the 3 dots. If you click on the 3 dots, it says add profile picture.
That would be easier.
That sounds like the direct route.
But I don't have that either. I see my three
Yeah, I don't have
dots
that option either.
says mute, start, rename, hide, hide. So I'm going back where Vince suggested this.
Okay.
If I go to video settings, there's a whole bunch of options, but none of them maybe under advanced. Let's see. No.
Are you in full screen?
Here, try this. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, with this, on this panel, we're in the top right, there's a little gear.
Well, wait, we're still seeing your
Susan.
It was my camera.
Susan picture.
My Susan picture. Stop sharing. Oh.
Well, that was a really good question,
You know, it's
Vince.
interesting. Zoom doesn't want to show Zoom in the screen share.
Exactly. It's not meant to do that. It's supposed to
a
hide out of
conundrum.
the way. Right. So I don't know, Vince, were you able to find where you could change your profile picture?
No.
Okay. So we'll work on that and get back to you on that because I would like to do that as well. Okay, someone said, can you do a screenshot of your Zoom preferences and then share the screenshot, David? I know we're you know, flying here on the edge.
That's all right. That's what this part is for.
Right.
Profile.
You'd think it'd be really easy to do.
Yeah.
I think it's weird that your three dots have a different menu than mine.
I agree. You actually, oh, you know what? You're probably logged in. If you're just attending and you're not logged in. Yeah, I think, Marnique, I think that like Kim, you should have the three dots like Eve.
I have the three dots, but I have mute audio, stop video, rename, pin video, spotlight video, hide self view. So
You don't have one that says add profile picture?
no. Maybe you got it because we're all on one account right now. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I did the screen share, but I'm not sure how to get that. Well, I know how to get that. I'll do this. Desktop.
I didn't realize that people have the ability to hide their self view, which is nice because a lot of people get distracted looking at themselves.
Yeah.
Not me. I could do this all day.
And David, while you're searching, I'm friends with Carolyn, who's one of the examples he showed, and she shared a neat tip that she learned from you about like putting someone's picture, like minimizing the screen.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Not to distract you, but that
So
was really cool.
this is a really good thing that I left out. So when I open up Zoom, it defaults to a full screen. And then so I've got Kim in a full screen right now, and I'm looking at Kim's eyes, and you see that my eyes are way down here. So what I generally do is I grab the corners of the Zoom window and shrink the pictures as small as I can, and then drag it up to the top of the monitor so that, because that's where the camera is. And since our eyes naturally want to go to the person we're talking to, now when I'm looking at Kim, my eyes are a lot closer to really looking at her, which is looking at the camera. So now I'm actually looking at Kim's image on the screen, and if I put her down here, now I'm looking at Kim. This is a 27-inch monitor, but yeah, it's very helpful to minimize the picture of the person you're talking to and drag it all the way to the top of your screen if that's where your camera is, or put it as close to your camera as possible.
Eve, my eyes are up here, okay?
That's the idea.
Okay, well, Vince, we'll have to figure out that profile pick one and send you out a note to everyone who's on here, because I'm looking in the chat, like David has a picture next to his name in chat, and everyone else just has our, initials or first letter. And that should be an easier thing to do. So that's something we'll have to learn about. But I really thank you, David. I love these tips because we do see a lot of different, people out there using, as Kim said, some of these higher profile, there's a couple hundred people in the meeting and you're like, why am I looking, kind of up your nose because you put it, under the table or you put the phone on the table. Just little things make it better.
Oh, David, can you show us what you showed us before with the camera that was like rubber banded?
Yeah, this is somebody was asking me. I said, I need to get a tripod for my iPhone, and I said, you don't actually need to get a tripod for your iPhone. You can do this. This is an olive oil bottle, empty, iPhone, and a rubber band. You can put that anywhere. Do whatever you want with it. It costs nothing. Are you seeing that?
And I'm sure we have a lot of empty bottles in our houses these days through COVID. So
yeah. You can use wine bottles too, right?
That's a great idea.
Yeah, rubber band it. Wow.
Yeah, they're pretty lightweight, pretty simple to deal with. You probably, if you had a big enough rubber band, you could do that with a tablet as well. But I wouldn't try it with my laptop.
Cool.
Any other questions? I opened up the chat and I was seeing. So there's a big question about the placeholder picture, and if you can find settings and then look for your profile, that's where you upload it. There might be another setting that gives you the option of having your ID or your picture show up when your camera is off, but I think it's the default to go to your photo.
I think you have to be logged in, and I don't use this computer all the time. So if you're just joining a meeting, you might not actually have the full profile unless it uses your login. That's what I think it is. So we'll find
it could be when we leave this meeting, you can go find the settings and you'll be able to do that. It could be just because it's busy right now,
You might have to make a free account.
Could be.
Yeah.
I wanted to show you this, but I did a screen grab and I cannot. It won't.
Thanks for joining, Cindy.
Won't allow me to screen share the screen grab. So it's in there. It's in there. I believe.
Right.
Gotta believe. That's all I've got.
Only the privileged few get it, and I have it.
Yes, you do have it. So now I'm going to just talk about Eve for a second because she is using the computer and no headset. It's the built-in mic. And it's noticeably different, Eve, when you're talking, the quality. And so I was putting in the comments that, I know that the headset, whether it's distracting or a little geeky, the sound quality is great for me because sometimes it's harder to hear through the computer.
Yeah.
And I've heard many, many times that the sound quality coming from the headsets is really clear. So
yeah, well, one thing that as I was picking on my friend James earlier, I encouraged him to get a headset because then he can sit back here if he wants to, and he can lean up here if he wants to, but the microphone never changes distance from his mouth. And even the microphone in the line of your earbuds is probably better than the one built into your computer. One thing you should be aware of, though, if you are using those is where the microphone is. Because I've talked to people where the microphone was brushing against a scarf or a collar, and you just get a constant stream of white noise interfering with the speech.
Well, thank you, David. We really appreciate joining us today and giving some tips. We will post Kim will do some editing. We'll post some of this up on our YouTube and make it available. Thanks for joining us today. If anyone else has any questions, please let us know. We have some more upcoming special KCL 35th anniversary coffee with KCLs that we'll let you know either via email, the system messages, and social media. And David, did you have a page you want to show with your information at all?
You can go to lightscamerameeting.com and it'll take you to my my webpage for my studio, and there's a link at the top for Lights Camera Meeting.
Lights, camera, meeting. So we'll make sure we put that out there too on our social media.
Thank
Oh.
you.
You just put that up there. I was going to put it.
Did.
You beat me to it. Thank you. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you,
And thank
Cassie.
you everyone for joining with us and for your support for KCL, whether it goes back 35 months or 35 years. We appreciate you all.
Sure.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.